In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to never run out of qualified leads by using YouTube Organic. And this is the same system I used in the last year to make over $1 million in sales. As you can see on the screen, 115K in 115 days, 235K in 10 days, 60K in 5 weeks, low subscribers, low views. It doesn't really matter. We have 80% of people on Brez's offer tapping into a second channel and just locking in on YouTube. And this isn't some tactic or BS method that you apply to your business and then down the line it isn't working. This is going to be tapping into a content ecosystem that is allowed to really use YouTube content throughout your entire funnel to print cash on the long term and build something worth having. So I just want to get straight into it. I don't want to waste your time. Let's dive into it. The first things first that I'm going to be covering is the pendulum swing and the sales cycle with YouTube. So we want long-term nurture and not something that is just going to be BS and, like I said, end like after a month, 2 months, 3 months. No, we want something where you can actually build a long-term asset, and that's what YouTube is. I view YouTube as the highest probable long-term nurture asset. I think it is better than short-form content, and I low-key think it's better than paid ads, but there's a pendulum swing between YouTube on this side or paid ads on this side, going back and forth, back and forth. I honestly think the best approach is when you mix YouTube plus paid ads plus short form content. But I think the problem is people aren't aware of how powerful YouTube is, and that's what I want to show you in this video. I'm not saying those other things don't work. I do believe there is a pendulum swing in the market where YouTube right now is like kind of hot, but I do also believe it is a long-term asset that you should have on your channel. And I want to show you guys a sales cycle of like what really happens on YouTube and why it works, right? So first things first, the nurture on YouTube is just like insane. If you compare it to somebody watching a short form content video for, let's say, 30 seconds, and then someone watching a YouTube video for, I'd say on average our YouTube videos are, let's say, 13 minutes, right? Like, in which one is somebody going to get to know you better? Like, if your ICP is watching, how are they going to get to know you better? A 30-second reel or a 13-minute YouTube video? So that's the first thing, is the amount of nurture and watch time hours you get on somebody watching your content. Second is the evergreenness with YouTube. Like, if you compare this to any other platform, you can compare it to Twitter, you can compare it to IG. Like, on these platforms, you post one time and it can do well. It can honestly pop off. Like, I do pretty good on Twitter. I don't really market on IG, but you can post there, it pops off. Like, today I have a tweet that has nearly 200 likes, but that tweet's not going to keep growing forever compared to a YouTube video where basically if you understand how to make good YouTube videos, which I'm going to teach you how to actually make them, the entire funnel that goes into making YouTube videos, how to intertwine an ecosystem that can work long-term and actually bring you content that collects cash but also gets views, you're able to basically create this graph that can flatline but then go up, flatline, go up, and you create this long-term growth cycle with all your videos where if you have the proper packaging of your title and thumbnails, if you have the proper SEO optimization, you will be able to collect cash. And that's the whole goal with this thing. And your videos can continue to grow forever. You obviously have nurture through implementing it in certain parts of your funnel, which I'm also going to talk about later in this video. But the sales cycle with YouTube is so powerful. I feel like, thirdly, like, people only think about it as the direct benefits of YouTube, but I don't think that's the best way to think about it. I think it should be direct plus indirect. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say someone sees your paid ad, right? How else are they going to go down through your funnel to learn you more? They're going to search you up. On search, what do you find? You can find literally YouTube videos because YouTube is literally tied to Google. So you find YouTube videos there. Or just say, let's go on the short form angle. We have a client that did 235K in 10 days cash collected, and we just read a client interview with them. They have a pretty big short form content audience. So let's say they post a reel and someone likes that reel. After that, they're gonna be like, okay, I like these guys. How do I get to know them better? Blah, blah, blah. They're gonna go to a YouTube video. And that's how I really see it. Like, obviously you can get direct like cash collected from YouTube. People see the video, you track the link and they book a call, blah, blah, you get the cash, right? But there's also so much indirect nurture that comes from it. You can post a reel, you can have an ad, you can post a tweet, you can talk people in DMs, sales calls. Like there's so many ways, but I want you to focus on the direct and indirect nurture, mainly the indirect, and how much power it has on the long-term nurture, plus how evergreen the content is. If you focus on those things, you'll be able to bypass kind of like this pendulum swing of like, okay, YouTube's just this cool thing right now. No, it's something that's a long-term asset. And I believe if you mix YouTube with paid ads and showroom content, that's how you get the best nurture. But I do think YouTube is the most powerful in where, once again, people can watch you for all these watch time hours, and that's how you actually turn your content into cash. But let's get into the next topic of how you can actually do it, because that's what you're probably asking, like, okay, this is cool. How do you actually do this though? Because I mean, we're working with tons of clients. I'm going to pull it up. We have the growth partner, 150K, 150 day, Brad Scales, Samir, Defino, Sebastian, who made 60K in 5 weeks with a small audience, PB Trading, Flips for Miles. Like, there's so many names. Caprice. I'm just going to keep scrolling. You're going to see how many people we've worked with, and I'm about to break down the entire system of what actually made us collecting cash possible. Because like I said, we made over $1 million in the last year just with this process. So let me go ahead and actually break it down. So it comes down to understanding the ICP, but also building out this content ecosystem, excuse me. So how I think about it is, obviously, like, people have funnels, right? But I've started to realize, like, I used to call this a YouTube funnel, but I now envision it as a YouTube flywheel, a YouTube ecosystem, because I believe this intertwined flywheel allows you, it can keep growing. And it grows with fuel as you make better videos and as you understand and nail your ICP, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. And I think, like, why I see it as a flywheel is because a funnel is like, okay, people are going to see one thing right here, then they're going to go down to the second thing, and then they're going to actually pay you. And then from there, it's kind of like, it's just like GG's. Like, I think it's good, right? Like, funnels work. But how I kind of see it is, we have our funnel, which I'm going to break it down for you guys of how I kind of think about it. We have top of funnel content, we have middle of funnel content, and we have bottom of funnel content. And essentially, all of these are intertwined. You can even add another layer, which I like to have, like, either like a my story or like a free course. But we have these layers, right? And instead of people going from, just one to the other, like, they all kind of intertwine. And with the nurture from YouTube, people can essentially, like, buy products forever, like, at all parts of this funnel. Well, not necessarily the funnel, but at all parts of this ecosystem, you're getting nurture and you're allowing people to become part of the flywheel. And once again, it is continuous. It doesn't really stop with YouTube, and that's why it's so powerful. And you can place this YouTube ecosystem inside of your funnel, and that's how I believe personally that you're able to actually, print. You want to take someone from a YouTube subscriber to a lead to paying you more money. But when they pay you more money, the surprising thing is, like, after somebody pays you more money, they still watch YouTube videos. Like, they actually watch more, is what I've realized. Like, after somebody pays you money, they watch your YouTube content more than prior to actually paying you. And that's the power of it. So now that they're watching more YouTube content, this same ecosystem right here is still printing cash. So it's not a dead end like this over here. No, you're actually going to be able to print cash at basically all parts of this ecosystem, no matter what type of content you're making, as long as you're consistent over a long horizon, which I'm going to show you how to be consistent with content, how to come up with ideas, how to really break down everything. But I just wanted to cover kind of like how the ecosystem works. I want to actually dive deeper into it. But before we dive deeper into the ecosystem, I want you guys to understand how I kind of think about understanding your ICP. So let's kind of break that down. So I'm going to come over here. So with understanding the ICP, essentially, this is like your entirety of how you're gonna actually make your content. This is the foundation of how you're gonna make your content, right? Why? Because everything that you do is for the ICP. This is, in my opinion, how you actually turn content into cash. And how I think about identifying your ICP is, obviously, do the research, look for the psychographics and demographics, blah, blah, blah. But then after you discover who this ICP actually is, you want to tap into the pains, you want to tap into the desires, you want to tap into the fears, and you want to tap into their motivators. And why these things like important. I'm going to talk about psychology later in this video, but the reason why we tap into all of these is because you can take all of these insights from your ICP and directly make them into ideas if done correctly, and then we're going to YouTubeify those ideas, which I will talk about, but that's how I personally kind of think about it. But if you can nail your ICP, but not only nail it, because things change over time. This is another thing. You want to be able to supply the demand as things change over time, because this ICP, especially, if you're selling a high ticket offer, this can change in the different quarters of the year. You have Q1, you have Q2, you have Q3, you have Q4, like things can change. So you have to be consistently on top of what your ICP actually wants as time goes on, and how are their pains, desires, fears, and motivators actually changing. And if you can stay on top of that, nail your ICP, then what you want to do here, where you kind of bridge the gap between the idea and all the insights from the ICP, is basically you want to I'm blanking, my mind is blank. I had a thought, but it kind of blanked, man. I don't want to edit this video. I want to give you guys the raw, unfiltered sauce. But what you want to do here is reverse engineer. That's what I wanted to say. Reverse engineer the pains, desires, fears, and motivators into the ideas. And then I'm going to show you guys how we actually YouTubeify like these later in the video. But that's how I create like ideas that can actually go ahead and work. It's all based around who you want to sell to. And not, this is why you don't need hella views or hella subscribers. We have a client, Sebastian, like I just mentioned, 60K in 5 weeks, bro, with 500 subscribers. And that's because we understand our ICP and we realize we're hitting on top, middle, and bottom funnel content, which we want to break down. And we don't need all of our videos to go be this broad audience. You don't need to go viral. Let me talk about the ecosystem, how I see it further, and what I guess this content ecosystem looks like. So I'm actually going to erase what I have here. Let's erase this, because that's we don't want to be, depending on this as a funnel, more as an ecosystem as the insight I've had. But how I kind of think about this is, so you have the top of funnel content. What this really is more broad ideas. Oops, things with more TAM. So total addressable market. Basically, you're just looking to get more views and more eyeballs on your content, not necessarily more views. Middle funnel content, I'll put mid right here. You're looking at creating how-to videos. You're looking at creating explainer videos around what you do. And then you have bottom of funnel content, which is going to be talking about, like, we can do case studies. You can do niche deep insights, NDI, free courses, just really niche deep insights around stuff people already know, and they're basically they're on the edge of buying, and you just have to drop hella sauce around which you actually do. So that's how I think about that there. When it comes to understanding the ICP though, and how it kind of ties into this ecosystem, is you basically have insights that you get from your ICP. You have sales objections. You have frequently asked questions, FAQs. You have even like audience feedback, like in general, like on social media, TikTok, it could be anywhere, Twitter, like people are communicating via comments, via DMs. You can take all these insights from the ICP. These are still ICP insights, and then you reverse engineer them into ideas, of course, but you're also kind of tapping into the funnel. Like you're creating certain videos, sales objections, could be bottom of funnel videos. Like you're creating a video specifically to target one sales objection, or you create a middle of funnel video around how to solve some frequently asked questions or to solve a FAQ. And you're tapping into audience feedback, seeing what people want to watch, and maybe make a top of funnel video on that. And that's how I kind of like intertwine these both, and that's how I think about the content stuff to actually turn your content into cash. But hopefully you kind of understand what I explained there. I want to get into the next section, which is how to psychologically position yourself for money on YouTube. And you have to make people choose you with trust. And I'm going to dive into like what that like really means, because I think YouTube at the end of the day, like, is obviously, it's still marketing. Like, it's still marketing. So there's more nurture there, I think the nurture obviously is better than a paid ad, but people still have to trust you. And on YouTube, not anyone's gonna trust you because YouTube, I believe, I don't know what it is exactly, but obviously it's the second largest search engine in the world. So like there's hella people on YouTube. So you need to discover like why are people gonna choose you? Like you should be asking why me? Like when you create your content. And that's what we're trying to figure out in this section. How can you psychologically position yourself for more money? And how I've kind of thought about it for our clients that are printing cash on YouTube is essentially there's a sense of, I guess, sophistication that is able to happen when you post your videos. There is a sense of tapping into your competitive edge, your comp edge, and seeing how you can stand out and be different. And then also doing not audience research, but competitor analysis and really seeing like what is my audience doing good that I can double down on and improve, include in my content, and where are they doing bad where I can fill the gap and create basically what I like to call blue ocean niche. You want to be able to stand out and be different, and you stand out and be different by being sophisticated, having your own competitive edge, and tapping into competitor analysis. Now, how do you do these things, right? Competitive edge is really my favorite personally. This can be done through so many ways. I think it can be done through your story. It can be done through accomplishments. Any way that honestly you are unique or different is your edge. But a lot of people don't show that edge through their content, and that is the problem. It's just like if you look at Hormozy, Iman, Gary Vee, these guys are allowing their competitive edge to bleed throughout their content consistently. They mention the same stories, they mention the same accomplishments over and over again, so much that we ourselves, as people watch their content, probably know it better than they damn near know it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I mean by allowing your competitive edge to bleed through your content. With the sophistication, for me personally, this is a more of having your content feel like it's for your ICP. So I in my opinion, like having your content feel rich, the way that your titles look. I mean, not your titles, the way that your thumbnails look, the way that your video editing looks, your camera setup. Like, does your content attract people that would actually spend on a high ticket offer? Does it look sophisticated? That's something that I personally view when I'm watching on YouTube. Like, does this guy really look like he cares about what he's doing, right? And then, yeah, the competitor analysis, I already touched on it, but basically, like, where are they doing good that you can double down? So double down, obviously, on the good. And then if they're doing bad in a certain area, you're kind of discovering, like, okay, how do I supply the demand of what people want? Like, they're not filling this demand. How can I fill it personally? It's how I kind of like to think about that. And that's how you create a blue ocean niche where people are going to be like, yo, this guy's personality is different. I actually click on his content. He knows what he's talking about. He has a different story than everyone else on YouTube. He doesn't have the same exact story. When I watch his content, I can see he has a personality. I can see his on-camera presence is good. That's another, like, big one. Like, how good are you on camera? Like, being good on camera is super important. Like, you have to kind of master it. And it takes time. I wasn't the best at it, but I'm improving. And you have to become good on camera, because that's also another thing that people look at when you're psychologically positioning yourself. That's something that people feel. And you want trust. YouTube is a trust platform. The more people trust you, the more money you're going to make. And that's how I personally think about psychologically positioning yourself for money on YouTube. Next, we have how to actually use YouTube in your funnel. Because posting this content is good. Like I said, you can build out the ecosystem and it can work forever. You can build out that flywheel. It will print. It will print. But there's ways that you can leverage it in your funnel to increase that printing. And one of the main ways that we've really tapped into this personally is leveraging YouTube videos as pre-call assets. And that's a huge thing for sure. I think another one is, I think this kind of ties into the pre-call assets, but YouTube vids around sales objections. Like I just mentioned earlier, like kind of like reverse engineering those sales objections into actual ideas, I think email newsletter is also another very good place where you can leverage this YouTube content, and obviously like the other social medias, X, IG, kind of leverage them there too. And I don't think, once again, people understand the power of nurturing. This is where kind of like the indirect is like really able to cook, because they're not directly okay watching a YouTube video, but if someone's about to hop on a sales call and then they watch the video, don't you think they're gonna be more nurtured? Like, if a YouTube video is solving a sales objection that is solving from someone to buy, don't you think they'll be more nurtured? And then obviously email newsletter, if you're tweeting out or sending emails, posting IG stories, they click on it, they read it, they're like, okay, this is great. How can I learn more at a larger scale with more education and more information? Boom, they watch a YouTube video. So you're hitting on all fronts and just implementing it in certain parts of this funnel that you already have going on, and that's how you create the leverage. And that's really is the flywheel. Like, at a certain point, YouTube is at every single part of what you're doing, and you're able to actually go get the numbers that you want. Like you see, we're using YouTube visits pre-calls, and they're at 235K in 10 days on the month so far. And this is really the same process that I am using to print for our clients. It doesn't matter if you have a huge audience, a small audience. I've helped basically anyone you could think about in any single niche. Like, it's kind of impressive, honestly, to say it in a humble way. But yeah, this is the CCM process, how I think about content. If you're interested in working with us to do the same thing and you want a full done for you service offer, just click the first link down below to talk to me. Other than that, I appreciate you watching. And if you have any content recommendations, leave it down below or any questions, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.